Is the fact a very big coincidence how Egypt is deeply connected to everything taking place here. The Tav, like I said, being the last letters of the Egyptian alphabet, but also is the fact where the 2017 and the 2024 total eclipses are intersecting. In 2017, the eclipse crossed over 7 cities named Salem in America. This second total eclipse will cross over 7 cities named.
The Monday, April 8, 2024, total solar eclipse will cross North America, passing over Mexico, the United States, and Canada. The total solar eclipse will begin over the South Pacific Ocean. Weather permitting, the first location in continental North America that will experience totality is Mexico's Pacific coast at around 11:07 a.m. PDT. Eclipse continues from Mexico, entering the United States in Texas, and traveling through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Small parts of Tennessee and Michigan will also experience the total solar eclipse. The eclipse will enter Canada in southern Ontario and continue through Quebec, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Cape Breton. The eclipse will exit continental North America on the Atlantic coast of Newfoundland, Canada, at 5:16 p.m. NDT. Remember that you must use special eclipse safety glasses or viewers at all times during the partial phases of a total solar eclipse. The National Eclipse. Com Eclipse Store offers a wide variety of certified safe eclipse glasses and viewers. Also, here is more information. Listen to this, and the totality of this eclipse will be 4 to 5 minutes.
Which is also known as Little Egypt. Two total eclipses merging and forming an X on one singular spot, like I said, is an ultra rare event. Last time something like this happened was back in the early 1800s, but ultimately this happens every 300 to 400 years. Even though this is an ultra rare event, this total eclipse happens to be the first of its kind. That is because as you're looking up, as you're observing the total eclipse, you will also be able to observe another rare event, another rare celestial event in the form of the Devil's Comet. This ominously named comet is due to the fact that it appears to look like it has two horns due to its two tails. Now, while they state that this comet will be closest to the Earth on April 21st, it will actually be closest to the Sun on April 8th. So you'll be able to see this comet called the Devil's Comet trail across the Sun as you're looking at this ultra rare total eclipse. Now, along this path of totality that this total eclipse is going to take across the United States, we have meteorologists reporting a very unique and rare weather event occurring along the same path of totality. There is a bizarre and notable severe storm in recent memory taking place along this same path and along this same distance, stretching from Texas to the northeast, making its way along the new Madrid fault line. Over 16,000 individual lightning bolts spanning over 1,200 miles. Now, there are people that are saying this is a common occurrence for them and where they live. Me personally, I've never seen something like this before, such a severe storm stretching over 1,200 miles following the same path of a total eclipse. Like I said, we also have the weather people finding this weird and bizarre. There are also people that are saying that nothing's going to happen. This is just another scare tactic, more fear-mongering. This total eclipse is going to come and go, and that will be that. That very well may be the case, but as I stated in my last two videos talking about this topic, this unique total eclipse that forms this X, as I said previously, something like this happened once before in the early 1800s. What followed after this X on this new Madrid fault line in the early 1800s was a series of horrible earthquakes only a couple months later. So horrific that they are still in the top 3 of the United States' worst earthquakes of all time. While this total eclipse may just come and go and nothing but a mere light show in the sky will just occur, we do have historical proof that there was disaster that had taken place after this total eclipse occurred. This very unique total eclipse occurred. Now, these series of massive earthquakes that occurred in the early 1800s, do they have a connection to this total eclipse that forms this giant black X over this New Madrid fault line, or is it just one big coincidence? Now, I've covered massive earthquakes on this channel once before. Strange sightings being seen in the skies just prior to a massive horrific earthquake. More recently, the Morocco earthquake that claimed over, I believe, 3,000 lives. What appeared in the sky just prior to this massive earthquake are these very strange lights known as earthquake lights. They can appear like thunderstorms, they can appear like spheres, they can appear like radio tower signals, or they can appear like an aurora borealis. It was also reported that massive thunderstorms broke out in the early 1800s near the New Madrid fault line as well, weeks prior to these series of earthquakes breaking out. So much so that the president during that time raised alarms and had people find shelter. Then, like I said, these massive earthquakes broke out, which were about anywhere from a 7.0 to a 9.0. So today, as coincidence may have it, weeks prior to this very unique total eclipse, once again, we have a series of massive storms, massive lightning bolts, following the same path of totality, crossing over the New Madrid fault line. You have to understand just how devastating, just how destructive an earthquake like this would be in today's world. In the early 1800s, when the New Madrid earthquake struck, they were so powerful for a time, they changed the course of the Mississippi River. Jackson County, Missouri even talks about just how devastating an 1811-1812 earthquake would be today. It would leave large parts of St. Louis and Memphis, Tennessee uninhabitable. The St. Charles County, Missouri Division of Emergency Management puts the odds of another major New Madrid earthquake happening before 2040 at 25%. Now, while 25% is a good number, it puts us in good odds that a major earthquake will not strike the New Madrid fault line prior to 2040. Is still very risky given the fact of everything that took place in the early 1800s. Just mere months after this total eclipse, this X that formed in this location, we're talking about a series of just massive quakes, something that would be pretty much world-ending for this location in today's world. Now, in my last total eclipse video, I had someone in the comment section of that video say to me, why don't I talk about the Aleph and Tabs? Why don't I talk about the 2023 total eclipse when I'm talking about the 2017 and 2024 eclipse? And it is a good and valid point. I should have brought it up. I should have mentioned the 2023 total eclipse. The only reason that I did not is that it didn't really connect to the 1800s total eclipse, the Black X, and the Black X between 2017 and 2024. Now, what's very bizarre is that we don't really hear much about this 2023 total eclipse. We only hear in the news and media about the 2017 total eclipse and the 2024 total eclipse, forming that Black X that happens every so many 300 to 400 years. But wait a minute, what you're not being told is that there's actually going to be 2 Black X's across North America, across the United States, in mere minutes of this April 8th, 2024 total eclipse, something that has never happened in history. 2 total eclipses crossing paths over one singular location, like I said, is an event that occurs every 300 to 400 years. But now we're going to have 2 Black X's crossing over a singular location, one located in Texas and one located in Illinois, just mere minutes from each other. When you look at all three total eclipses as a whole, what it forms is an aleph and a tav. A tav is a cross, the last letter of both the ancient Hebrew and Egyptian alphabets. The aleph is an A, the source of our modern letter. They are the first and the last letters, the alpha and the omega, essentially. The April 8th, 2024 eclipse creates all three letters within minutes by crossing the lines created by the first two eclipses from the south to the north. Now, you can Google Total Eclipse 2024 X. 99% of the news articles and images are going to show you 2017 and 2024. But oddly, 99% of these news articles and media omit 2023, the second Black X. I wonder why. The only other news agency I could find talking about it without having to do some deep diving research was Forbes. Very bizarre is the fact, a very big coincidence, how Egypt is deeply connected to everything taking place here. The Tav, like I said, being the last letters of the Egyptian alphabet, but also is the fact where the 2017 and the 2024 total eclipses are intersecting in a location known as Little Egypt, near a place known as Makonda, which is also known as, or was known as, the Star of Egypt. How perfectly can something be so placed? It reminds me of the Great Pyramids of Egypt and how they perfectly align with the stars. Now, if you go into a deeper dive between the total eclipse in 2017 and the total eclipse coming up in 2024, you're going to find yourself in biblical prophecy. In 2017, the eclipse crossed over 7 cities named Salem in America. This second total eclipse will cross over 7 cities named Nineveh in America. Nineveh, Texas, Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and New York. Going into biblical writings, Jonah was spewed out by a great fish, and when he washed up ashore, then he was obedient to God, and he went to Nineveh to proclaim a message of repentance. Now, this could just be me reaching here, but I find the passage spewed out by a great fish to be very funny, given the fact that I just covered a story how fish in the waters are acting absolutely crazy. Now, before we continue, what's actually missing in the book of Jonah, but written down in Assyrian history, is that they actually encountered not 1, not 2, but 3 total eclipses. According to actual Assyrian writings, the Ninevites would actually see the solar eclipse as a precursor to God's judgment. Following these total eclipses, the Assyrian nation was weak and in chaos in the decade around 760 BCE. After these total eclipses occurred, they had one earthquake, which they thought was a sign of divine wrath. There was famine from 765 to 758 BCE. Assyria was losing battles and losing territory to its enemies. There was domestic riots. Sounds a lot like the United States today. We would definitely see these issues ramp up if the United States was struck by a massive disaster, such as an earthquake or perhaps even a volcano being set off. Just imagine the billions upon billions of dollars, the many lives lost, the poverty that was set in, the homelessness that was set in, if a earthquake, a massive 8.0, 9.0 earthquake would strike the new Madrid fault line. This is just a lot of coincidences adding up, and people will say that nothing will happen. This is nothing. But again, the ancient people used stars, signs above in the heavens, to guide them. And matter of fact, we to this day use these same signs to guide us. These perfectly placed signs, symbols, celestial events have to have some kind of meaning. Outside of these governors declaring a state of emergency during the April 2024 total eclipse, there have been gatherings of governments saying that the United States needs to prepare now because a massive weather event will take place shortly.